hello, everybody. We welcome back to Christian Men Unscripted. I am Seth Lazan here with Alan Underwood and John Harney. We are the three amigos of the Christian Men Unscripted world. Yeah. We're glad you joined us today. We're in this phase of life, guys, where you guys are older, obviously, and
honestly, that's fair.
Advanced,
I mean, it's
a little more advanced in years.
Yeah.
You also have
better
beards for sure. That's how I was going to go with, not better looking, certainly. But I have I can't grow much facial hair. I tried my beard for a long time. Mustache is all I can have, but I looked and I have it's like so thin on one side of my mustache.
You should borrow your wife's mascara and brush it into your mustache.
I think I should do that. Yeah. Well, I got young kids, and the other day we asked my daughter. I said, what does it mean that God loves you? And she said something really, really beautiful. And she said, God loves me because He made me and He's happy about it. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Like he's happy that He made us. And I was just like, yeah, that's a great thing for me. Think about the beauty of kids' faith is to see how they're growing and how they're understanding God. And I just love having kids because it teaches me a lot about God's love for me. Now, sometimes parents hate their kids, and that's unfortunate.
That's terrible.
I think he's going somewhere with this. Is it because of how we raised our kids?
Sometimes people hate their kids, and they treat them horribly. They swear at them and all that stuff. Like Alan does, but like not anymore.
Gosh!
But what I was saying, what I was getting at here is that there was a time several years ago where my son, he's 9 now, but he was maybe 3 or 4, and he was able to grab the milk and put it on the counter. He climbed on the counter, he got a cup, but he couldn't open the milk. And he turned and yelled, "Dad, can I use your strength?" And I was like, yes.
Ask your mom.
Yes, son. No, I didn't say that. I said, yes, son, you can use my strength. And I was just so touched by that. And immediately I was thinking, that's kind of like my relationship with God. I'm like a little kid. Yeah, we're all like little kids before God. Like some of us think we're so big and mighty and everything, but at the end of the day, we're not. We have so many things that we need to learn, and so many things we need to grow in. And as we grow, we can ask the Lord for His strength.
Yeah. Dude, I absolutely love that. You're exactly right. We get inflated egos. Mm-hmm. We exalt ourselves thinking we're like, I got all this, I'm all that. Yeah. And when you really look back, you realize how genuinely frail, how I don't know anything as I ought to know it,
right?
How actually lost I am unless I just humbly say, God, I need you to do this.
Yeah.
And that really, and it's funny, last episode we were talking about major life events, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, because of Rick Strasser's amazing celebration of life and what David Dendy and his church did for that, Rick's, a couple weeks ago now, a week and a half, whatever it was. And his daughters, his family, and then the family that Alan spent with at the hospital. These are major life events. And when you look back on life, and even as you're entering into weddings and marriages, as you performed a wedding last week at this point and all this, you actually realize, man, the frailty of life, the speed of life. Kids grow up so fast. We all grow up. Who am I? I'm nothing, yet God sees me as the crown jewel of His creation, as something, as an object of His affection. That's crazy when you really think about it. And I just think and so at the funeral last week or week and a half, whatever that was, I got in a conversation with someone about this podcast, and they were even saying, what is the premise? Like, what are you guys kind of talking about exactly? What? And I kind of shared the whole point is we're trying to just be honest, be vulnerable, make sure people hear that we're all going through life. All of us are. Nobody has it all the way together. Mm-hmm. Like every one of us, we need our Father's strength. All of us do, no matter how much you look like you have it all together, pastor or whatever you are, professional, the cops. Yeah, you're there to solve people's problems, but you got problems of your own. I'm a pastor of a church. I'm going to be honest with you. I have to give it up to God, because I'll even get frustrated because people have their wants, their desires. This church is supposed to entertain me. This church is about me. And you're like, man, bro, listen, I got my own problems too. I can't fix all of yours. God can. That's what I'm trying to share. We're on a journey together because I got my own issues. I don't got it all together. I don't. And if you got some pastor or some person in front of you saying, like, this is how you do it, I got it 100% together. If they're not pointing you to Jesus saying this is how you do it, you follow Him.
Right.
Bro, you better run. You know what I mean? because I need my Father's strength. I love that opening. I love the thought that you have a child who recognizes that. As a child of God, we need to recognize that. We need our Father's strength in all things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the truth. I mean, we all have kids that are a little farther along, some kids that maybe know how to walk, other kids don't know how to walk, and we are so grateful as parents that we're like, why can't you even throw a toddler that can't walk really well? It's like, why can't you run like your brother? Like, and he's 10 or something. It's like that's not how we act towards our kids, right?
No, my son is 21.
He doesn't know how to walk.
He doesn't know how to tie a shoe yet.
They really don't.
No, I mean, I swear he doesn't. He wears Vans all the time. And I remember when he was a young man playing baseball and at 17, he was like, "Dad, can you tie my shoe?" I'm like, "What the heck's going on?" Still,
really?
Yeah. So when he goes to work, I have to tie a shoe. He's 21.
No,
that's great. No,
anyway, finish what you're saying.
No, I actually slide my shoes on too. I don't know if I remember how to tie shoes. But
we don't need to learn to do anything nowadays with AI.
Yeah.
If it could tie your shoe, that'd be great.
Oh my gosh, dude! The is it GPT or GPT?
They do all our
GPT.
descriptions on our podcast. Chat GPT,
whatever it's called. I'm just saying, like, are we going to get stupider and stupider? Is that what's going to happen? To all
No,
this?
that's the truth.
We put our slide-on old man Skechers that you can just put them on without even
the
having
slip-ons.
to. Yeah, they haven't them now where you don't even need a finger to help.
I told you guys about my Skechers store.
I know.
Yeah.
And then you can have the computer type stuff for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Honestly, we could probably just go like this. and then type, and then just tell the computer what we want it to talk about. Have these three characters talk about this.
Hey, there is a guy at my church who does a podcast, and he has AI do it all, and he just types in a topic, and he puts it in, and it gives him a whole 20-minute podcast. Not video, it's video, but it's just words, and it's pretty good.
So I'm literally joking, but that's what people can do. That's how.
And he did one on the universe. He did one or whatever. I'm like, that's crazy. And he goes, look, I got like 30 people just
check out my podcast. I did a 3-second Google entry thingy and said, turn that into a podcast and everybody listens. It's amazing.
That's exactly what it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's also, okay, on the one hand, it's fascinating because we are created. We have scientific minds and all these because God created us that way because we have a creator, right? I love that we're created in God's image, so human beings are capable of getting the very best out of what we have been given in this universe, in this world. There's not a bad thing.
Right.
But it can be. That's what I'm getting at. It's a neat thing to think about, but then all of a sudden, where is your own walk? Where is your own interaction? Holy cow, what are we coming to?
Yeah, I mean, if the reality is most of the advances have just been horrible for the human psyche, the human soul. Yeah, and
because of the cosmos, the world system that Satan, the whole world lies in the hand of the wicked one.
Right. I mean, you look at news, you look at anything that you're just shocked into wanting to say something. You don't have
one way or another.
Right.
Oh, man, our last 2 podcasts, man, it got so much reaction when we've talked about things in the world. I mean, so a lot of hate, a lot of vitriol, and a lot of good things too. But I was like, what's wrong with people? Just listen.
It's like everyone has a voice. And some
opinion.
of them don't need. Some of them have not earned an opinion or a voice.
Well, they give an opinion, but they didn't really check the whole thing out. I'm like, I'm like, no, you didn't listen.
Oh, they do a surface
minutes.
level response without even hearing the whole thing. And by the way, we all have a tendency to do it. We're all guilty of that. I'm not
a headline guy. You look at the headline, you're like, oh, at least hear this, and then you don't read the article. Yeah, because that's all clickbait.
Yeah.
And that's what we do too. We do clickbait to get people to look at our show. And they look at that and they're like, oh, these guys are racist.
Right.
What? 3 white guys.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We got that.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not, man. You're not listening to anything. Maybe Seth. I don't know.
Seth is a racist.
Yeah, worked in urban ministry for so long.
That's clickbait. I just gave us some clickbait.
Yeah, I'm going to just put that part on there.
He's like the most loving. Seth comes from an urban ministry, one of the most loving guy. He sees less color than any person I know, but because I said that, that'll turn into a clickbait issue, right?
Yeah.
It's just funny. Dude, that's just how people are. I will share, okay, look, I want to get into like the wedding stuff and the funeral stuff. But on that note about like AI and I don't know, all the scientific stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was watching this show the other night. There's a new show out there, and I'm not trying to glorify it, but it's called Visionaries, and it's Keanu Reeves and this dude. His name is like Gard or something. Yeah, okay, whatever, doesn't matter. And it's about them going around and meeting visionaries, scientific visionaries, life visionaries, artists, whatever. I saw 1 episode, but I was intrigued by it. It was really good. It was the dude that started. I can't think of the name of the company now. It doesn't matter. Okay, he started a company. As a 25-year-old, he asked Mark Cuban for $500,000 because he wanted to start a rocket company. He's like a rocket scientist kid. And the point of this is the whole episode, he's sharing all this, how much he loves the space, outer space and Legos. He created the world's largest 3D printer. He literally 3D prints 300-foot rockets. And they had their successful launch in like 2023. And this company has gone from like 0 to like worth tons. He's an amazing rocket scientist.
Is it Tesla?
No, but it's like
That's
it's
what
called.
you sound like. It's
I know it's
Elon
something like
Musk
that,
type
but it's
thing.
called. I wish I could think of what it's called. It'll come to me after a while. I'll look it up in a minute. But anyways,
You're getting old.
while I'm watching this show, the whole time he's explaining how what's so cool about 3D modeling is one, they can have the vision for it, they can create the design, and they can print it out so much fast, like rocket engines, so much faster than years of testing and all this. They can print a rocket engine in a matter of months, test it. If it fails, they can figure out what it was and then redo it. Keanu Reeves and the other host are looking at his rocket engine, and they're like, your engines look like coral, and they look like natural things. And he said, because nature is the greatest designer, and I think even rocket science gets away from that. And if you look at nature, the symmetry and the perfection found within nature is, he keeps what he's saying the whole time, and I'm like, oh, it sucks so bad. You mean the creator? He's using creation. He's like, all this created and blah blah blah, but he's hundreds of millions of years, and nature and Mother Nature, the design of Mother Nature designs. He keeps saying these things, and he's like, so if we emulate that, we're seeing it's more effective. And what he's saying is, I'm created by a creator who designs and organizes and create, and it's like he's missing. It was frustrating me so bad. I'm like, you're right there. Of course, everything God created is the best way to do it. You know what I mean? Wonderful. It was fun. I don't know why I even went off on that, but it was kind of a neat.
Again, captivating.
Captivating.
Yeah, you're captivating.
I'm just joking.
You're captivating. I'm not. I don't even know why I'm here. Okay.
You guys talk amongst yourself. Let me look this company up.
Yeah.
It's a secular company, but it was neat.
What kind of got us on this massive tangent that had nothing to do with what we said we were going to talk about.
John's mom is going to be like, you talk too much.
As always, she only listened once because she's like, I can't stand that show. You talk too much.
That's hilarious. But there's these developmental things as humans. We go through these things, and the truth is we are designed a certain way. And a lot of the times what we do, especially with the advent of technology, the things that we put our energy and our time in actually are not what feeds the soul. It makes us more and more distracted. It makes us more anxious, depressed. We have access to so many different things, and it really short circuits our development to have resiliency as humans, as kids, as we grow up. Going back to the first thing I brought up is that we're basically just children learning how to grow and learning how to live in this world that God has created us to live in. We need to develop resiliency as kids, right? My kids, if my daughter were to fall down when she is walking, and I just like, are you okay? It stunts her desire to want to walk. But if she falls down, I'm like, you can do it, get back up again. And then she keeps walking and she keeps growing. And there's this development that comes through pushing past barriers.
Yeah.
And for us as Christians, as men, as kids who are a little farther along the road, is sometimes we can rely too much on what other people have said or what the technological world has done, that we can short circuit our own resiliency walking towards the end, which will be our death, which will be ultimately glorifying God in the midst of people who have gone before us.
I love it because as you're going, I see Alan going like this. Catching up. He's catching up. Don't worry.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So we're going to be we're having to move toward this end.
Yeah.
And a lot of us try to avoid this end, which will actually be the best beginning. Right. And for us, we're as kids, we start to mature, and then we get to this place when we're 18 or something, and we get to move out, and we have these different responsibilities. And spiritually speaking, we're growing, and then we'll get to experience this new beginning, which will be with Christ and in his fullness. As John says, we do not know what it will be like. We know that we will be like him because we will see him as he is. And that's where we're moving towards.
Yeah.
And so every life event that we have is another section for us to grow in our relationship with Jesus, to move towards what he's called us to do, so that at the end of life, we'll be prepared to be there with God.
Yeah, dude, listen, I want to share this real fast. I love that. You said a lot. There was a lot in that. Going back, first of all, I looked it up. It's called Relativity, is this company on this show, Visionaries, which is Keanu Reeves and this other dude whose name is cool, but I can't think of it. This kid, Tim Ellis, is who created this at 25 years old, this is only a few years ago, 25 years old. He's like, dude, I think we could print rockets and go to outer space. This company, he emailed Mark Cuban. Tim Ellis is probably, he seems like such a wonderful kid, but he's probably the dumbest smart guy I've ever heard talk. Here's why. Because he is a rocket scientist. He's very intelligent. You can tell he's loving. His wife looks amazing. She's an artist. I love that they had a relationship before they became so wealthy. He literally emailed, because he's so intelligent, Mark Cuban, he just came up with what he thought his email might be. And so he emailed all these random combinations and said, I need $100,000, whatever. He came up with like a tagline so Mark would read the email. Mm-hmm. And then they interview Mark Cuban, and he's like, I saw this email open up. Here's this kid. He's so bold. And he said, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, how about I give you the full $500,000? Because he explained he's trying to raise $500,000. This is only a couple years ago. That company's worth $4.5 billion, almost $5 billion. This 20-something-year-old kid had the gumption and the creativity. But why I say he's the dumbest smart kid I ever saw, I don't mean that genuinely. I'm sad for him because he keeps explaining all of this. Now, I don't know his spiritual walk. He didn't say he was an atheist or anything, so maybe he is a believer. But of course, he just kept talking about that, talking about like the design of nature and Mother Nature. And he is being used at his greatest potential, like you said. Father, I need your strength, but we do get to grow and mature, and we can be creative, and we can get so much. God wants us to get the very most out of our opportunity here to his glory. And here's this kid, Tim Ellis, who's like worth billions of dollars because he has been born and given a greatest mind and creativity from the Creator to use for amazing things, to go where no man has gone before. He wants to colonize Mars and all this stuff. But my point is this: as I watch it, I'm blown away by this kind of stuff because I'm like, God is so amazing. I'm seeing that picture while he's explaining like we have to save humanity 10,000 years from now and be on Mars and all this. And I'm like, gosh, you're missing it. I love what you do. Keep doing it. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Be visionary. You know what I mean? But you're missing that you have that because you have the God of the universe has created you in his image. If only you knew that you could just simply give it up for Christ, and then you could even do more. That's why, you know what I mean?
Right. So,
I don't know. I thought it was cool. But whatever I just said, the name of the company, I already said it and forgot.
Relativity.
Thank you. That's how bad I am, dude. But how cool is that? Well, by the way, that speaks of boldness. We should all be so bold for Christ.
Right.
Mm-hmm. See what I mean?
Yep. So. And we should email Mark Cuban for money.
Moral of the story.
Yeah. I don't even
Apparently
know.
You just email him and he gives you money. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, will you
send
give
you a
us
clip of this video that's talking about you?
Give us $100,000 for this podcast. That isn't that really awesome? But
why haven't we done that? Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry, guys. I went off on that tangent, but I was blown away by it. I thought it was really cool. I like stuff like that. I'm a nerd.
Yep. I don't even remember what this podcast was supposed to be about.
Big stuff, and we opened with a small child asking for his dad's strength. How God will give us strength. We can have his strength. We have access to that.
And life.
But then John was like, "I want my own podcast."
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk about this show. I love visionaries.
He's like, you know what? That's good.
We got
what I want is better. So let's talk about.
Let's talk about rockets.
You gave a great plug for that show.
Yeah, so I am gonna watch it. I'll watch it, and then we'll come back in a few weeks and talk about it.
I'm watching the Lakers and the Celtics.
How do we get back? I mean, God is.
You're talking about life events. We're talking about weddings and funerals, and you said something about a wedding. Who's getting married?
Well, my daughter is, but you have done one now last week. By the time this is out. Talking about big life events. By the way, that ties in. That's a big life event for that guy. He was so bold that he did one singular thing and changed his life forever, the trajectory of his life. And we look back, we have funerals, we have weddings.
Graduation. My daughter's graduating.
Well, let's talk about
school. That. I don't.
Let's
just hope she graduates. She is. Yeah. So we went and got pictures, graduation pic, which kind of you go in there and they get the pictures and they put their cap and gown and then the dress and you see the pictures and it's like you just wants to bring tears to your eyes. You're like, oh man, that's crazy. You know, they're growing up and this and that. So it was kind of cool to see the pictures. And she graduates May 28th, I think.
Okay,
it's gonna be fun.
That's crazy. Yeah. My kids are graduating college this year too.
Yeah,
my daughter got engaged to be married. It's like just a lot. What advice, Seth, did you give to the couple that you just married? In counseling, what kind of generally, you know what I mean? What was the big picture?
Yeah, well, the big thing that I said in the ceremony is that, marriage, all of marriage is a adventure in trying to speak the same language of love that your spouse needs. And so that was my main thing, is speaking the same language, the language of love that your spouse needs. Because oftentimes when we're going through marriage, it's like we kind of get stuck in ourself, right? And so our spouses need something else from us that we don't always give because we're we're maybe complacent where we are. We've taken this. We've gotten to this certain space, and now we're good. But our spouse still needs to be loved, whether and on both sides of the coin. Like our wives need to try to speak the language of love for us too. But we are the ones that, as men, that take the initiative to speak the language of love that our wives need to hear.
Yeah.
And so what I said was, talk about the crazy cycle. Oftentimes, have I told you about the crazy cycle? I think I have. Yeah. So when wives don't act in respect, we don't want to respond with love, and then when they don't feel love, they don't respond with respect, and so I shared that, where that is something where if we don't take time to humbly respond to our spouses and say, okay, I don't feel loved, I don't feel respected right now. Did I do something that was unkind? Did I do something that wasn't patient? Did I do something that wasn't that boasted about myself and maybe put her down? 1 Corinthians 13, where we often take that as a marriage verse, but it's actually a passage for emulating the love of Christ. Mm-hmm. And so in every relationship, we need to be doing that, to share the love of Christ. And we are seeking to do this, and that brings intimacy, right? When we seek to love in this way, we're patient, kind, we don't keep records of wrong, it builds a greater intimacy with our wives, with the people that we're with, and it helps us become more free to be vulnerable and to move beyond some of these roadblocks that have been hindering us from being bold. Right? We haven't been able to be bold and say, I need help with this husband. I need help with this wife. I need help with this person. And then to know that they're going to respond in a way that protects and loves and nurtures and maybe even encourages us to move beyond this roadblock, then we can, as the rocket scientists did, we can be bold and go before God and say, we want to grow and do the things that you have called us to do as a couple, as a church, as a small group, as individuals.
That marriage is not going to last. I'm just joking. That's good stuff, man. I've been waiting to say that for like 2 minutes. You just kept talking.
Apparently I was long-winded. It's like, oh, God.
Just messing with you. That's good, man. Were they friends of yours or just people from the church?
Two from the church.
I'm friends, Queens. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. So.
Has you done more weddings, or is that the first one?
I've done several weddings in my life. Yeah.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, but I just got the license for Clark County, because you have to go through a special class for Clark County. But anywhere else in the entire world, I can do weddings because I'm ordained minister. But.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, they have special rules here. I just had to re-up my license because I'm marrying my sister to doing the ceremony. I'm marrying my sister. Yucky, yuckity yuck. It's how we do it. No, she asked me if I would perform the ceremony for her and her husband and stuff. And so they just finished up biblical counseling the other day. She texted me and said, "This was awesome," because you tell people this. By the way, you tell people, "Hey, I'll marry you. I'll perform the ceremony for you, but I'll ask you to do counseling, whether it's with me or someone else." And I can, for my sister, for instance, I said, "No, please go see a professional Christian counselor. Lifeway, is that the one? You and I both know about the one Christian counselor. Yeah. Is it Lifeway?
No, it's. I have to go.
I would love to give them a plug.
So
there's a great. This is us being old. There is a wonderful Christian counseling here in Las Vegas, and they have these clinical psychologists and things that are actual Christians, or biblically based Christian worldview. But anyway, the point is, I said go get counseling at this. Let me recommend this place. They're biblical, but they do premarital counseling, and that way, because I can talk about it all I want, but the reality is when you're kind of with your family and stuff, go see someone else, right? Because they know I'm a work in progress too, right? Who am I? You know what I mean? And I understand that. I really do. So, you're trying to. I know I can't think of the name of it, but anyways, Alan, he's talking about marrying people, performing the ceremony. I'm talking about marrying my sister, and my own daughter is going to be getting married and all these big things. You do like couples stuff, and it's not you wouldn't call it counseling, but you lead couples groups. You spend time.
I wouldn't even call it leading, but
renewing life.
Renewing life.
Thank you. That's the counseling place. Yeah.
How do you remember that? How'd you know that?
I know about it. Yeah.
He's never even
Okay.
talked about it before.
No.
We go
Good job.
there.
Yeah.
I've gone there for counseling for myself. Guys,
Yeah.
let
I
me
was
share
there
that
on
again.
Thursday.
Yeah, we're not above that. I'm a pastor of a church, and I still have to go and kind of sit with a biblically based Christian professional to talk about things. We all have issues.
Right,
It's wonderful.
exactly.
I was in there and I was like, this is so peaceful in here. It looks like a nice little country home. Yeah.
It's good for us. But I'm just saying, you
Anyway.
invest in other
Oh.
couples. You really do. And the point
I don't
is,
know.
that's
I
what
just
we're
think I
supposed
like
to do.
people. I don't know if I invest in other couples. It's just I like people. I like
I mean,
help.
what is that called? Vernacular? Or is that when you change the wording? Like, it's like, call it what you want, right?
Call it what you will.
It's just you're genuinely trying to say, guys, let's all talk about Jesus together and see, and let me try to share with you like things that have worked and haven't worked. Take it.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Let's give it up before God and talk about this stuff.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, we do couples at my house, and I don't know. I don't even know what you would call it because like half the time I'm like, I didn't prepare anything, guys. Let's just talk. Let's eat. Let's just eat and hang out.
You know what?
Talk about God. you know?
Breaking bread is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is what I like to do.
Yeah, and it goes back to our previous episode. Talked about discipleship being just investing in
Yeah.
people at the purpose of following Christ more.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
I mean, community is what keeps you like on the right track, kind of, so to speak. It's like
Sharpens
you could go,
us, yeah.
iron sharpens iron. You can hang out with a bunch of Christians, have fun, go out and eat dinner, and cry at funerals, and go into the hospital, or you can go drink and watch stupid stuff and go do dumb things without your family and get divorced in 10 years. Did you tell them not to do that?
I said, just please don't do what
Don't be
what
going
Alan
to,
just said.
don't go to the bar, leave your
Yeah.
wife and family at home. So it's all whatever.
And by the way, if you're in that place where that's what you're up to, then
Yeah, I mean-
nothing's beyond redemption. You know what I mean?
No,
You
I
gotta
mean,
give
I was
yourself
there.
some grace and get back right.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. No, that same here. That's why I'm trying to. I don't want
Yeah.
to be people to feel like, oh, I'll never get past this.
I
You can.
remember as a young police officer, married. I mean, I got married young, been married a long time, and going out after work and drinking and playing and coming home at 2 a.m. and getting home and not going out to look at my car and make sure I didn't just kill somebody.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is, and I remember vividly thinking that is something I can never do again.
Mhm.
What a hypocrite to be a police officer and then to do something like that. You know?
Cops are the worst cynics and hypocrites because of that, and
Yeah.
I give them grace because everything they're exposed to is bad,
Yeah.
honestly. So I got to give them grace.
Yeah.
And I'm talking as one, by the way. So if you're a listener and you're a cop right now, and you're like, wait, what are you saying? We're the worst hypocrites and cynical. You're proving your
I'm
point to yourself right now while you're saying that to yourself, because I was
guy.
there too. But I got to give you grace because you're exposed to the hardest things that humanity can throw at us, and yet you have to act in perfection and live in perfection, and we all just kind of fall apart at that at some point, right? Apart from Christ,
Right.
especially. I don't know how guys do it without Christ. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone in
I was
any
in
of
that
those
boat.
fields.
Yeah, I was in that
Yeah.
boat, and I remember thinking, and then next week, same thing. Like, by the grace of God, I didn't kill somebody, kill myself, or just,
Mm-hmm.
And, as I grew up and started going to church and following Jesus, I changed my ways. It took decades, but it happened.
Yeah.
You know what? That is true. I'm going to talk about that a little bit at church. The next message, I have it in my notes. One of my next messages having to do with like abiding in Christ, which is sort of like, don't expect just because you believe in Jesus, all your troubles immediately go away. Life is suddenly perfect just because you join a church. You're a believer. You found your home church. I love this church. I love these people. Everything's going to be perfect now. Guess what, man? There's still people there, including yourself. You still have sin. Don't be discouraged when you fall back into some temptations. God provides a way out. 1 Corinthians 10:13, right? He always has a way out. Everyone is tempted, and he always has a way out. But don't be so discouraged when you do kind of fall back or whatever. It's a lifelong process. It's a lifelong, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always try to encourage people in that way because we have to give ourselves grace a little bit. I'm not giving you an excuse either. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really do want to kind of, just because you found the perfect church, the perfect group, you're in, to Alan Underwood's family group, the couples group. Just because you found the greatest couples group in Alan Underwood who doesn't preach at you, he just eats food in front of you. Don't think that that's going to be the end all be all. It's an ongoing, lifelong process.
Correct.
You know?
Right.
You going to finish up there, Seth?
Yeah, I can finish. So, which brings us back to that maturity as kids. We grow and we mature, and
Yeah.
we become more like the person God has created us to be.
Yeah.
And that's what all of us are on different pathways to maturity. My kids are not in the same maturity cycle, and they have different wirings that'll bring them to different places that God has given to them. And the same thing with you, Alan, and then John.
Watch
and I.
it now.
Yeah. But that's something to keep in our minds, is that we are growing, we are maturing, and it's not always at the same pace as other people.
All right, we're going to finish up on that. Good.
Be blessed, man. Thank you.
Yep.
Every